1089 and 1053 AM. Mike Dickin on talkSPORT.
Good evening, I'm Mike Dickin. This is talkSPORT. Gambling for most people is a fairly harmless pastime. The internet, to most people, is a fairly harmless pastime. To a small minority of people, gambling is an addiction, which will destroy their lives and the lives of many of those around them. Similarly, to a small minority of people, the internet is an addiction, which will similarly destroy their lives and the lives of many of those around them. Put these two together and you have an utterly destructive cocktail. A 25-year-old man took his parents' credit cards and in 50 minutes lost £158,000. Should we care? The gambling industry and the internet are unrestricted, and therefore it's down to us to restrict our involvement. If some are too stupid to do so, should we care? Is it any of our business? Dr. Mark Griffiths is the Professor of Gambling Studies at Nottingham's Trent University and joins us. Dr. Griffiths, good evening.
Good evening, Mike.
Why should we care?
Well, I have to be honest. I'm certainly not anti-gambling, anti-internet gambling. I think, like most things, I've spent nearly 20 years now trying to protect vulnerable individuals. And I suppose with the thing about the internet, of course, is it's something that's, on demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And there are some vulnerable groups out there that are hard to protect. I'll give you a very good example. If I'm drunk and I go to my local casino, I do go to my local casino regularly. If I was drunk and I went to the tables there, they would not actually let me play at the tables because they would say I'm not in a fit, rational state to make decisions about gambling. Mm-hmm. But of course, if you are engaged in remote gambling, whether through interactive television services, through the internet, through your mobile phone, how does a service provider know that you're not intoxicated or under the influence of drugs? And the answer is they can't really do that. So, in that situation, you're a vulnerable individual that's got no protection because you're gambling in a remote environment, and obviously the internet is one of those remote environments.
Similarly, they don't know your age.
Yeah, obviously, it's much harder on the internet, particularly because normally on the internet you need a credit card to gamble, so unless you've got access, you get the odd case of adolescents who have used mother or father's credit card online. There are a few electronic forms of payment like solo cards that adolescents can and do get hold of. I think the good news at the moment, there's no good evidence that lots and lots of children are gambling on the internet, but there is, obviously, I suppose we do know that a small proportion out there do it, and they often do it by watching their mother and father set up accounts, watch them doing it, know their passwords, and get in like that. So, it's more about parental responsibility. If it's the kind of thing that, if you do gamble online, it's, don't do it in front of your children who actually are not, as if you like, technologically unsophisticated as parents might like to think.
Now, the chances are that the child, whatever age, is more adept at using the computer for that purpose than the parent is.
Yeah, I think that's, I've spent almost 10 years now, particularly working in the area of technological addiction. It's quite true that there is a kind of technological generation gap out there. My own mother finds it hard to set the video, yet her, kind of 5-year-old granddaughter can do it with ease. And I think there is, we've got children now who are acquainted with state-of-the-art technology from a very early age. I've got 3 children myself, all who are very adept at using the computer, including my 4-year-old son. It's what they're brought into now. There's certainly no fear. They trust the internet. My son's been on the internet for a year now, and obviously there are sites that I regulate and monitor. But there'll always be parents out there that haven't got the level of parental responsibility of someone like myself. But this isn't to paint, I have to say that I don't know about you, but my life's a lot better for the internet being in it. And I think things like gambling and sex are two industries that where, new media come online, they're often the first two things out there that capitalise and want to make money from it. And, I'm not here to say, I think what's going on in America at the moment, trying to ban internet gambling, is absolutely unpragmatic. It's unpractical. What we have to do is actually say, well, this is going on now. What can we try and do to protect those vulnerable individuals? I think what you'll find in this country at the moment is that most companies are becoming more socially responsible. They want to actually protect punters. It's in nobody's best interest to have problem gamblers at the end of the day, and what we should be trying to do is promote, safe gambling for those who want to do it and protect those vulnerable individuals who unfortunately get into trouble.
But the vulnerable individuals aren't necessarily underage, not necessarily adolescent. They can be anybody. They can be you, they can be me, they can be the housewife at home all day with nothing else to do.
Of course, and what companies have to do is they have to be upfront and tell you everything about their product in the same way that cigarette companies do or whatever. I mean, it's about, protecting your players, giving them as much information, enhancing their playing experience, and make sure they can't turn around and say, we didn't realise this was going to happen. We have to realise that now, in all walks of life, there are lots of things that are potentially addictive, from playing video games, exercise, sex, eating. Gambling is another one of those potential behavioural addictions that a small proportion of adults do succumb to it. And I do think we have to put this into proportion. At the moment, the figures are that just under 1% of the adult population has a gambling problem. I think the thing with remote forms of gambling, and the internet is obviously the most high-profile one of that, is that what this is it's a kind of new medium where people have convenience gambling. It's actually at the push of a button. The whole thing about is that if I want to go to my local casino, I have to make a pre-planned decision to do it. I have to get my money ready to do it. I have to dress up. There are membership rules, etc. Obviously, if you're an online casino, I could be sitting there gambling, stark naked, don't have to worry about anything. It's the accessibility and convenience that it's not to say the internet is bad, but it does provide a medium that can actually facilitate excessive gambling for those who may have vulnerabilities in the first place.
I agree with you, and that's where I have a problem. I don't think it's necessarily all bad, but it is all things to all people. Whereas you may make a mental and an adult decision, and whereas I may hopefully do the same thing, we all know there are those that are not going to. And do we need to protect them? Do they deserve our protection? I mean, aren't we being a little patronising in saying, hey, you're not really up to this?
Well, I'm afraid I'm the person that gets rung up every week by, parents of children, by, wives of gamblers saying, my partner's got themselves into a real mess over there. We have to realise when people are in the midst of an addiction, they really aren't thinking rationally anyway, and you really should be affording them as much protection as possible. I think gambling companies have a duty of social responsibility, should try and give all the information, give player protections where possible. You're never, ever going to eradicate problem gambling, but what we should be trying to do is bring in harm minimisation measures, just trying to protect those people that do. I don't think it's patronising at all, particularly because, I'm somebody that ends up with, the distressed phone calls, the distressed emails I get every single week from people who are suffering genuine addictions or genuine problems. And I think the thing about gambling as well, even if you haven't got a gambling addiction, it is one of those things, because there is a financial consequence, even if the case you just mentioned about the guy that has lost £158,000 during the course of one particular betting session, doesn't necessarily mean that person has a problem, but one bet can actually ruin somebody's life. So even if you haven't got an addiction, it's gambling because of the financial consequence is something we do need to take account of.
Never gamble more than you can afford to lose. It's a very simple rule, but we don't seem to apply it.
No, I mean, that's my goal. I mean, I love going to the casino. For me, it's a fairly cheap night's entertainment, and once I've lost my £30 that I'm prepared to lose, I stop. And that is one of the things now is that obviously there are things that come into casinos like, the cash machines right next to the tables.
Oh, yeah.
There is temptation there that people, may have come in with their £50 or £100 they're prepared to lose in an evening, but obviously because there are facilities to get more cash out, credit is given out more easily nowadays. Those are the kind of things that when, particularly if you've had a few drinks as well in the casino, is that you can succumb under those particular conditions.
Well, thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Dr. Mark Griffiths, Professor of Gambling Studies at Nottingham's Trent University. Is gambling a problem in your house? No, not just gambling. Gambling using the internet. Putting the two together, has that created a greater problem than you ever had before? Perhaps we had the internet and internet gambling. Can you cope? Is it something you're wrestling with yourself? Or wrestling with a member of your family over? You can tell me in total confidence. 08704 20 20 20 is the number. This is talkSPORT.
On 1089 and 1053 AM, talkSPORT.
Good evening, I'm Mike Dickin. This is talkSPORT. Our telephone number is 08704 20 20 20. We're talking about what I'm told is an increasing gambling addiction brought about by marriage of gambling and the internet. But involved in this as well is something that I want to bring into the conversation, and that is the amount of gambling that goes on television. at the moment. Mainstream television. I think it's Channel 3 or whatever it is on TV. Not that late at night, because I turned on something accidentally and thought I was watching an advert. But it wasn't an advert, it was some bird trying to encourage me to phone up and guess at a name that she'd got on a board somewhere or other. And if I did, I'd win, I don't know, 5,000 quid or something. And I thought, well, how ludicrous. Clearly, this is one of those, you make 500 phone calls, you might get through once, and if you get the answer wrong, how much does that cost you? Clearly the phone calls pay for the programme, pay for the prices, because there didn't seem to be an advertisement break, so presumably that's what it was. Only when I realised there were no advertisement breaks did I realise I was watching a programme. Utterly gripping. But irresistible to the point, well, totally irresistible. Whereas if you weren't going to have a bet, why would you watch it? So, how many people are doing that? I don't know if we've got figures or can get them, but certainly would be interested to know if you've any information on that. But let's stick to the internet. I've no idea how many ways there are of gambling on the internet, but I imagine there are many. Is it a problem in your house? 08704 20 20 20 is the number. Let's make a start in Huddersfield. Martin, good evening. You're on talkSPORT.
Good evening. When I was sort of a teenager, I used to be addicted to fruit machines. And the thing about being addicted to fruit machines is, well, what I know now is you have to get on a bus and you have to go into town and you have to walk to the amusement arcade, and then if you lose all your money you might end up walking home. But with internet gambling, which I use now, you don't have to do that, do you? Just turn on the computer, wham, it's there. Wham, you can lose your money in an instant. Wham, another spin of the wheel, and there you are, You can do it 24 hours a day, any time, and I'm losing a fair few quid on it, I must say.
Why are you expecting that everything's going to change tomorrow, and you're going to suddenly become a millionaire?
Suddenly become a millionaire. There is the chance that you can, well, you could win $1 million. If you want, you can play games where you can win $1 million, but it's unlikely to happen, is it? But there is a chance there that you could get all your money back and suddenly get rich. Well, I mean, I play on it. I try not to lose too much, but I play on it because when there's nothing to do, really. There's nothing on the television, and there's just so much of it now. It's booming, You can play anything you want.
Yeah, see, I've seen it. Well, I haven't seen much of it, but I've seen the adverts for it.
I mean, I started off when the internet sort of came out. There were just bookmakers on there where you can bet on horses.
Yeah. And
you can bet on dogs and football matches, but when you get into the games and you see the graphics of the games and the ball going round, and then you can see the fruit machine with the reel spinning. It's just you against the machine. And you're in a dreamland, basically, and you just concentrate on that, and nothing else matters.
So
you don't really know how much money you're losing until that zero comes up. Oh, I've lost.
Yeah, I was talking to my kids about this. I said, why do you think they're there? I mean, why do you think those facilities exist? It's because the people who own the facilities are an absolute guaranteed win. There's no way you can beat them.
You can't win on random number games unless you win the jackpot. And then, obviously, you change for life, aren't you?
Yeah, but how many people out of every 100,000 that play are going to win the jackpot? One.
Well, I don't know, there might be sort of £1 million goes every week, so there's not, you're going to get a few a year, aren't you, that's going to win it, but, most, 99% are not going to win, are they?
See, when the gambling that most people say, oh, I don't gamble at all, but most people have a shilling or a quid on the National Lotto, or whatever it's called. That's a gamble.
People carry around with them, because if you're on the internet and you get hooked, and you can soon deposit some more cash through your credit card, and you can lose hundreds, thousands, just like that. I mean, you're not going to carry a £10,000 around in your pocket every day. You're going to lose a lot more on the internet. This is the thing.
But when you gamble on Lotto, as I'm told it's called now, you hand over your quid, and you really said goodbye to it. You don't expect to win, and the odds are 14 million to 1, apparently, if you win it.
People, I think it's a good thing, because I envy people who can just walk into a shop, on a betting shop, and just put £1 on, and then come out, and then just watch the horses, or watch the lottery later on. They get that. It's worth it for £1 for the excitement you're going to get, isn't it? You're not going to get that other form of entertainment for £1.
So how much excitement do you get for what you spend and what you lose?
Well, it's plenty of excitement. I mean, I have winning days and I have losing days, but I mean, I am losing a few thousand quid in the last couple of years, more than I can afford to lose, really. You know.
Is it becoming a problem to you?
Well, I'm sort of managing it at the moment, but I mean, it could at any time become a problem, and I could just end up losing everything. I know I could.
When you say everything, you mean your house?
Well, I live in rented accommodation, so I won't lose that, and I haven't got many kids, so I mean, it'll be me that suffers, but I mean, I'll get into further debt with my credit cards. I'm already owing money on those, and, you know, my lifestyle will just go to the dogs, basically.
So you, as the phrase, maxed out on your credit cards, are you?
It's getting that way, yeah, it's getting that way.
So who else depends upon you for their way of life? I mean, have you got a wife and family?
Oh, no, there's only me that will suffer. I mean, I wouldn't probably do it if I had anybody else, you know, dependent on me.
Well, that's what I was asking. Is it because you're alone, and this isn't intended to be any sort of insult to anybody, but is it only people who have no family, and seemingly have no friends and no social life, that get their kicks from gambling on the internet?
Well, I think the thing is, when you're betting 1-to-1, just you against the computer, same as when I was playing on throw machines, it's just you and that, isn't it? There's nobody else involved. You're not going to have anybody sat there watching it because you'd be embarrassed at how much you were losing. So it's like an escapism. You just nick off and you play on it, don't you? And nobody else knows, you know.
I just wonder if it's a substitute for friendship.
I suppose it is, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much for the call. I hope you can get a grips with it. That's Martin in Huddersfield. 08704 20 20 20 is the number if you want to take part. Colin is in Hornchurch. Colin, good evening. You're on talkSPORT.
Good evening. There's two things I'd like to say. Where I live in Hornchurch. There's a place called Raynham, and they're crying out for a casino there.
Why is that?
I think it's going to give them jobs and that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it said in their local paper. And my uncle, he used to gamble a lot, and he lived in Plaistow, and he had a sister in Dunmow and a sister in Arlo. And to get away from gambling, he walked from Plaistow to Arlo, or he walked from Plaistow to Dunmow. Can you hear?
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm not quite sure what you're telling me about your uncle and why we need to know that.
But to get away from gambling, he just walked from Plaistow.
Well, why was it? Who was forcing him to gamble?
He couldn't stop gambling.
Oh, I see. He was the problem.
Yeah, he couldn't stop gambling, and to get away from it, he walked from Plaistow to Arlo,
yeah.
And it took him 6 weeks.
Well, he was all right for 6 weeks. And thank you very much for the call. As I was saying, it does seem that those who are perhaps lonely, friendless and without family, that are more likely to be susceptible to the addiction of gambling, particularly when it comes to the internet, where all you need is the ability to press the keyboard and a credit card. And all of a sudden, there's lots of people want to know you. Bookmakers. Terry is on Merseyside. Terry, good evening. You're on talkSPORT.
Yeah, hi, good evening, Michael. First, I'm calling a bit a little bit nervous, so I'll try to make it as quick as I can. Basically, I went to quite a few checks in my lifestyle when I used to gamble. I don't gamble anymore whatsoever. And the thing I like to point out, I think this comes down to greed at the end of the day. You know, I mean, whatever you win is never enough. You always want to win more and more. And at the end of the day, you know, you're never going to win what you want. You're never going to beat the bookies, no matter how much you put on.
But is it always, and this may sound a stupid question, it probably is, but is gambling always a case of needing to win, or is it the thrill of taking part?
I think a lot of people, it's like you have a bit of fun with it, but you're never going to beat the bookies. But at the end of the day, you can put, you can even win 15 grand. Someone's going to say, I won 15 grand, I want to win 30 grand. I'm going to get 30 grand. You want to win 60 grand, so it's never enough. And by the time you lost a whole lot, so you end up with nothing at the end of the day. So I think that's what the book is always wins, but they know. Whatever the customer's going to win, he's never going to be happy. You want to win more and more and more.
I'm not sure that's true. It might be true. But, I mean, the experience of playing a game on a computer, it's a singular and lonely experience, as far as I can see, and has no social involvement whatsoever. Yeah. But if you go horse racing, or dog racing, or football, or whatever you do, if you've got a shilling on one of the horses or one of the dogs or one of the players, it seems to heighten your involvement and gives you more fun. In that social experience, you are part of what's going on, even though you're not a real player. Whereas gambling on the internet, to me, seems an utterly soulless experience. You're not having any intercourse with another human being, are you?
No. To be honest with them, I'm not really better than it or nothing like that. I've just bet over the cash and over the counter. And one thing I've always noticed is you always want to win more and more and more. And that's where the book is up. I mean, once you've made a big win, you just might as well leave the premises then. But you always want to win another 20, another 30. But it's never enough. And I think that's how the book is make the money better.
Well, obviously, I mean, that sounds like compulsive gambling. Is the compulsion eased or aided by the internet? Thank you for the call.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Let's go to Exeter. Adrian's there. Adrian in Exeter. Good evening. You're on talkSPORT.
Good evening, Mike.
Hi.
Well, I'm a compulsive gambler, and I play poker online, but not actually for cash. I'm too afraid to play it for cash online.
Really?
I just play it for fun. I've seen it ruin a few lives, and I'm afraid if I did play it online for money, it would ruin mine as well.
Is that because you're not a good player, or because it is utterly addictive?
It's completely addictive. I say I'm a compulsive gambler anyway, and I often spend a lot of money in the bookies, football and horses and dogs.
Well, do you know why? Is it the desire to earn money?
It started when I was younger, playing fruit machines.
Yeah.
It's progressed from there, basically. It's come close a couple of times to ruining my marriage. I mean, my wife knew when we met that I was a compulsive gambler, and she sort of deals with it as we go along, but the actual urge to play the online thing is very scary.
So you must have a strong will if you're a compulsive gambler and you're resisting the easiest gambling of all, and that is playing online.
Well, I mean, I've been to Gamblers Anonymous a few times, and I've got a few friends that sort of along the same sort of line as me, gamblers. It's very difficult to resist. If you're a compulsive gambler, the urge to gamble is just unbelievable.
Do you know what it is drives you? I'm not trying to be a psychologist. I'm genuinely interested. What drives you to have another bet?
It's the thought that the next one could be the big one.
Right.
You know, if you're playing the roulette table and the machines and the rookies, and you think, oh yeah, just keep going, another £10, another £20, £30, I might drop a big win, a couple of £100 sort of thing. So there's always that, and then before you know it, your pockets are empty, and you walk out feeling such a fool.
You see, I've seen people put £5 to win on a horse at even money, and in consequence, they're not looking for a big win. They're going to get their money back out of fiver. So, you know, they're going to get 10 quid. Wow, it's hardly going to change your life.
Yeah, I wish it...
So why do they do it?
I've no idea. As I said, I started off playing fruit machines when I was younger, and it's just progressed from there. I mean, I still play the odd fruit machine, not as much as I used to, but obviously as I've got older, I'm now able to go into bookies, so you can, you know, there's more to... It's like a kid in a candy shop, basically.
Yeah.
There's so much there for you to play.
Is there anything you wouldn't bet on, apart from the internet?
I don't actually bet on virtual racing.
Right.
The computerised horses.
I cannot believe how anybody does that, but apparently it takes in thousands a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably just, to me it feels like it's...
it's like betting on cartoons, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is ludicrous. And of course that comes into its own when, in this country, as so often happens, horse racing is abandoned for the day because the weather or the ground isn't suitable. And then these people go in, the same people go in the betting shops, and they bet on, well, cartoon racing, really.
But to me, the bookies never lose, and if they're running their own virtual dogs and horse racing, then they're definitely never going to lose, are they?
Right. Well, I'm not saying it's fixed in any way, but the odds clearly are never going to be in your favour, because it would be impossible to run an organisation where you set it up so the punter always wins.
Yeah, true.
It would be madness, wouldn't it? There was a race this afternoon I was watching from, I think it was York, and I had a fancy for a 50-1 outsider, and I thought, oh, go on, I'll have a couple of quid each way, because, you know, it's big odds at a 50-1, and it actually came third. So, it was nice. I got something like 20 or 30 quid back for 2 quid. And I thought, wow. But I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I thought, why is that horse 50-1? It looks better than that to me. And people do that with horses, they do it with dogs, they do it with... It's like with football. People have an expertise in football. And they feel they know what's going to happen. Consequently, they bet their judgment. And by betting their judgment, they get a thrill out of taking part. It's not the financial reward. Not always. This is talkSPORT.
If they let us in.
Can't appear to find the putter, sir. Only a pair of French knickers.
No further comment. 08704 20 20 20 is our telephone number. We're talking about gambling and the effect the internet has had on online gambling. Obviously, that's what's happened. You don't have to interact anymore. You don't need to go to the bookies. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't even need to put any clothes on. All you need is a credit card and the ability to switch the computer on. And you can be a high roller, if that's the right phrase. And nobody will ever know who you are or what you are. But you stand to win, I don't know. Not you stand to win. You certainly stand to lose a fortune. And some do, some have, and some will continue to do so. My question at the beginning, is it a problem in your house? And should I care? I don't know. Paul's in Liverpool. Paul, good evening. You're on talkSPORT. Hi, Paul.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Hello, Paul. Yeah, we'll get back to him. I think he's putting a bet on somewhere. Gordon is in Kirkcuddy. Have I said that correctly, Gordon?
Yeah, you have, Mike.
Right, good evening.
Good evening. It's definitely a thrill of taking part, Mike.
It is.
It definitely is. I mean, I work with several people at my work, and on their lunch break, they'll go out and they'll spend, for example, last week, a mate of mine lost £150.
Doing what?
At the bookies. Just betting on greyhounds, horses, etc.
Yeah. And
I was in the space of half an hour. And he comes back to me, and his words were, Closer weren't going to win the golden boot. So to him, it's just a thrill. And Closer did win the golden boot, so he won £450. So to him, even though he loses money, it's still the thrill of winning the money. That he never tells me about the losses he has. It's always about the wins he has.
Now, occasionally it's nice. I mean, occasionally, it will never be more than occasionally. It's nice to get a return, and you say, "Yeah, I'm the kiddie." But all the times you lose. See, if I go horse racing, very much like Mark Griffiths was talking to earlier, I'll put 30 quid in one pocket and say, "That's it. That's what I'm going to spend for the day." And when that's gone, I don't want to sound like a goody-goody, but I stop.
I do the exact same.
I can afford to lose the 30 quid, otherwise I wouldn't have gone.
Exactly.
But I won't go chasing my losses.
Exactly.
And I won't be upset that I've lost 30 quid, because I can still eat, I can still, drive and all the other stuff. So it hasn't done me any harm, but I've had a bit of fun watching my horse run.
Exactly, you enjoyed yourself.
Indeed.
And also enjoying the virtual racing on the internet.
Oh, I couldn't do that.
I personally, if I've got pals around the house, we will, 5 or 6 of us will sit around the computer and we'll all pick a horse and we'll all put 20 pence, 30 pence, 40 pence on a horse. And it's the excitement of seeing it coming in. It's a great, great night you have, Mike.
I can see the fun of putting 20 pence on, but having a real bet over the internet on those horses, which is what people do, to me is mindless.
Yeah, you're pretty right. But I mean, I could understand why people do it. I really could. Because the excitement of even putting 20 pence on a horse is so exciting you won't believe. I mean, I can imagine having £20 on that horse and it coming home, and you've won £150.
Yeah, but would it make a difference if you had £20 or 20 pence? Honestly, I mean, really, isn't the thrill the same?
No, because I believe the more money you bet, the more exciting it gets. I mean, for example, I had a friend that France were playing Senegal in the World Cup in 2002, and he put £1,500 on France beating Senegal. It's certain odds to beat them. He was only going to get 2,500 back. Well, I say only, but I mean, Senegal beat them, and he was physically sick in the pub we were sitting in. Physically sick, but...
Good evening, mate. Again, this is talkSPORT. We're talking about gambling. We're talking about the internet and gambling and the effect one has on the other. And why people do it. Is it just loneliness? I don't mean to be rude by saying that, but a lot of people are lonely. Their lifestyle leads them to be lonely because they either work alone or they live alone or whatever. Is it because you just can't be bothered to get dressed and go out? Is it because you prefer your own company, but suddenly get very bored and think, oh, well, I'll just turn the computer on for a minute. And then if you do, are you going to the gambling sites? And can you afford to bet the money you're betting? I suppose that's really it, isn't it? As I was saying to the previous caller, and what others have said. If you put set aside a particular amount of money, and say, that's it, I can afford to lose that, it won't do me any harm if I do, and you stick to that, as long as you don't chase it when you've lost it, I don't see any harm in that. But the case I quoted earlier, the guy borrowed, we use the word advisedly, his parents' credit cards, and in 50 minutes lost £158,000. I mean, it's unthinkable, but it happened. Pat is in Colchester. Pat, good evening, you're on talkSPORT.
Hello, Mike, it's a first-time call. I'm quite red here, phoning you, I'm quite flushed, so I try to calm myself down. Well, my daughter lives in Winchester, and she's got 3 children, a really good husband. The youngest girl's got Asperger's, so she worries about her, and the boy's got a medical problem as well. And she's been gambling. She went to bingo first of all. It was £200 a time in machines as well as the bingo.
Blimey.
Then she's been gambling. Now I found out yesterday, £600 on this ITV thing, and then another £400.
What? 600 quid in phone calls?
Yeah.
My God.
The thing is, see, that this gambling thing, people laughing, talking to you on the phone now, and I mean, we're a very close family, and I'm really worried that she's going to take her own life. I'm really worried about it because it's come really out of control. She doesn't know why she does it. She can't sleep at night because she's worrying about the children, and this has been for this last year and a half. Really.
But is she deeply in debt now?
Oh my God, they've remortgaged the house. That wasn't because of the debt, but they remortgaged the house to try and do a couple of alterations. Then on top of that, they'd run up 17,000 on cars.
If somebody came along with a magic wand, you for instance, and said, look, we'll write off your debts, start again, clean, free of debt from here, would she still gamble?
I don't think the stress level would be as much as it is now.
So she's gambling because she's in debt.
Yeah, and the thing is, the bingo. It was I'll win, Mum. I'll win. I don't know why I do it, but I'll win. And if I win, I'll sort everything out, and I'll get this for you. And I said, but I don't. I just want you to be happy. But the girl is dying. She is dying.
And you can't help her?
Well, I've been sent. I mean, my pension. Don't go back to pensions.
I don't think money is what she needs.
No, it isn't. But I've got rheumatoid, and I'm quite poorly. But I get down as often as we can, and I send 250 a time down. But now we found out another £400 again, and I mean my pension's £1.13 a week. So you know what I mean? My husband's slightly younger than me, and he works. But my money has been going down there, and it's been doing nothing. And her husband, when I phoned up yesterday, his voice was flat, and I didn't know what was wrong. And he put the phone call upstairs to Tanya, and he said, I'm not speaking to her at the moment. I said, what on earth's wrong? And she said, well, did Stephen tell you, Mum? Is that why you phoned? I said, well, no, I heard Mike Dickin's last night, but you couldn't talk about it because other things were on. And I said, can't you tape it? And she said, no, because I'm upstairs. But you could hear her voice is flat. There is nothing.
And what had happened?
Because she'd run another £400 up. And the thing is, it's within minutes they do this.
Yeah.
It's within minutes. And it's very, very hard. I can't stress to you, but it's very hard being ill and away from my child, and to know that I can't do any more because we don't have any to give.
No, honestly, I mean, I'm not qualified to counsel anybody on anything, but I think the last thing your daughter needs from you is money. She needs to shape up and sharpen up her own act, but money is not her problem, is it?
No.
It's why she gambles.
She gambles just to try and make it right.
To correct earlier wrongs, that may be part of it, but why did she start gambling in the first place? Well, she clearly has no control over herself.
In my first marriage, I had a violent husband, and the children saw that. And the thing is, that set up a series that self-esteem with her, because if her dad was like it, then she wasn't worth it. Of course, it wasn't so. I mean, we know that now, and she does. But the thing is, it doesn't help. It's like an emptiness inside her that she wants to make it right for everyone else.
Well, when she's gambling, is she alone? I mean, is her husband not with her?
Downstairs on the internet.
But can't he be part of that and say, hey, come on?
Well, the thing is that when she started, he didn't know.
But he does now.
Well, he does now. He does now, and the thing is, he's got a very good job, but he's going to have to take part-time work to try and, on top of that, to try and make some dent in the hole.
She really needs help, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. Yes,
and
she
it's
does.
not financial help she needs.
Yes, she does.
Thank you very much for the call. I'm sorry to hear it. It is. I'm quite sure that isn't an exceptional case. There will be many cases like that across the country. People like that surely are not looking or needing financial help. That's the last thing they need. So if you give them money, they're going to gamble it away. They need some form of help that doesn't involve money. Some form of help with the way of life. I mean, imagine being married. Maybe you don't have to imagine it. Maybe it's true. Maybe you are married to someone who's utterly addicted to gambling. What can you do to help them? Well, the last thing you can do is to give them money, because they're going to gamble it away. When we think about gamblers and addicted, compulsive gamblers, you don't think about women, do you? Well, I didn't really. I sort of always imagined it to be a man. In that case, it certainly wasn't. Rob is in Harrow. Rob, good evening. You're on talkSPORT.
Hello, Mike.
Hi.
Hello. I think I'm a compulsive gambler. I'm 27 years old, and it all came to a head last year. But I think, for me personally, I go to Gamblers Anonymous now. Why I gambled isn't actually important at all. I just have to stop. I don't know why I gambled.
No.
And a lot of us don't know why we gambled. It's just something that started off as a bit of fun years and years ago, and it just progressively gets out of control.
But initially, and I can only speak from my own experience, because I think we only can, there's a thrill to being right.
Yes,
isn't
definitely, definitely.
And if you are so sure that your judgment is that good, and you're prepared to back your judgment with money, it's almost confirmation of how good you are. Hey, I told you I was good. Look how good I am. I won all this money. So when you get it wrong, you keep your trap shut.
Yes.
And you lose, and you lose, and you lose.
You're absolutely right. And for me personally, that is a definite characteristic trait of mine I've portrayed for a long time.